It's about that time, y'all. It's time to talk about the pros and cons of living in Florida. You know how I do. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's get after it right now. Guys, I'm out here at Philippi Park today. I was hoping for a beautiful day to show you another great little park that I love to come to periodically, but it's overcast and it's breezy and it might actually start raining. So some of this video might be done from the inside of my car. So you're thinking about moving to Florida, but you're hearing a lot of good and bad in the news, in the media, on YouTube, Instagram, you name it, right? Everybody's got a complaint. But there's some good sides too. So today I really wanted to do a little bit more of a balanced video about the pros and cons of living in Florida. And let's see what you think. And again, comment below any added information or tips, or again, I do love when people suggest a video topic. So put that in the comments as well. Let's talk a little bit about population of the whole state of Florida. The total estimated population is 22 million. It's the 8th most densely populated state in the US, which I did not know. And it's one of the 2 most fastest growing states in America, next to Idaho. And this is what I thought was interesting. Of all of the big cities that are spread out throughout Florida, Jacksonville is the largest city by population. It has, I think I saw 880,000 people residing in it. The last I looked, the growth rate was anywhere from 1.58 to 1.60%. So again, we've been in a steady growth since the pandemic. As we all know, we're feeling it. And as we talk about growth, there's some good and some bad to that, right? So the bad is always going to be more traffic, home prices are rising. And now because of all the things happening just on the US level, our insurance has been shifting and changing. But on the good side, it's bringing more commerce to our state, it's bringing more tourism to our state, and it's bringing better restaurants, better amenities, more updated amenities. The thing about Florida in general, and this is different in each city, but sometimes the amenities can still be really old and dated. And what I've been appreciating of the growth of my town of Tampa is that, we now get some of the cooler restaurants. We're getting all these outdoor festivals and concerts and just places in general that seem a little bit more hip and up to date. So I appreciate that. Well, had to move a little bit away from the water to be able to speak to you guys so you can hear me. So let's talk about my first topic, which is, let's talk about the expense of living in Florida. As we all know, the property prices in Florida have gone up, up, and up. But don't forget, for the longest time, they were below the national average. And then COVID happened, pandemic happened, and people started to figure us out. And then that jacked up our prices, okay? So, when you have heavy demand, then sellers can start selling for what they want, and it just sort of messed things up. And also, the negative to that, or the con for that, is that people that have been living here for 20 and 30 years are now having a hard time affording the lifestyle that they've been used to for so long, with property taxes going up, and that maybe their flood insurance went up or their TICO bill went up. I talked a lot about this on another video that we're gonna pop up here somewhere for you, and that really breaks down the negatives, and I'm really super honest. So check that one out if you really want to know some truths that are going on in the Tampa area in particular. As I mentioned, things that are increasing are the home insurance prices. That has a lot to do with what's going on nationally with all the different, catastrophic events. We also have a lot of water intrusion here in Florida, so you're going to have that periodic damage more so than you will in other states. Our flood insurance has practically doubled. You'll have to check the FEMA site when you're looking for houses and to determine the best, area for you if you want to stay away from flood zones. But don't forget, Florida in general is in a flood zone. We are surrounded by water. So it's really hard to not have flood insurance at some point in some area that you might be interested in. But look at the FEMA site and it will give you a little bit more of an indication of how they determine what is a flood zone and what isn't, because that has changed. And now it has more to do with the property structure as well as its elevation more so than anything else. But of course, if you're going to be close to water, you're pretty much going to be in a flood zone. Don't forget, property taxes have been on the rise as well. So when you see a listing, I had a client ask me the other day, how much is the property tax going to be on this property? Because right now it's saying that it's this and it was homesteaded, which again, you can homestead in the state of Florida, which gives you reduction in your property taxes and it caps it. So it's important that if this is your primary residence, that you do homestead your house. But that property you're looking at, it's always better to go to the property appraiser's website, whether it's Hillsborough County or Pinellas County, and check out the tax estimator, because that way you can put all of the requirements that it asks you and it gives you a basic average of what the property taxes are going to be. Just because of what it's listed on Zillow or the MLS does not mean that is the property taxes rate that you're going to pay. So you can always take the sale price times anywhere from 1.3% to 1.8% of the sales price, and that can help you determine a range of what you might pay in property tax. Wind's kicking up. I'm chasing storms again, y'all. Let's talk about these housing prices. Listen, I get it. Everybody thinks they can wait out, they can hold out, and that prices are going to drop. I'm going to tell you, in other states, maybe so. In Florida, maybe a little bit. In Tampa, St. Pete, you're seeing about a 1 to 3% drop. But that's because they were inflated to begin with. A lot of the sellers are trying to take advantage of the market. And honestly, if you were in their situation, you probably would do the same. But the reality is we still have low inventory. So you're gonna be paying, still the average home price right now is in that $450, $465 average for a single family home. And that's not moving. It's actually been creeping up a little bit. So we don't necessarily go in when we're looking at houses, when I'm looking at houses, my clients going, oh, we should offer more. Again, it always comes down to the comps in the area, what's happening in the area, what are the homes going for? And we do a lot of that back end work to make sure you're not overpaying for a home. I want you to have value in your home in the next 3 to 5 years, okay? One of the pros though is, yes, we have no state income tax. So for those that are moving from the higher paying states, the New Yorks and the Californias and Chicago, places like that, you're gonna get a little break. You're gonna feel it a little bit more in your monthly nut, so that you can, have that extra money to do more fun things or to put it towards a nicer house, whatever your situation may be. So just keep in mind, no state income tax is still gonna help you out in the long run. So let's talk about wages, okay? So as I've mentioned before on one of my other videos, I talked about being an IT recruiter before I became a real estate agent. So I understand that we pay way less than the national average, and especially in some of the big cities' salaries. It was really hard for me to convince people to move here just because of our sunshine and our no state income tax. So you do have to do your due diligence when it comes to looking for a new job. If you're not being recruited or transferring with your current company to Florida, you need to really figure out where you're going to work, because obviously you've got to make a good amount of money to afford to live in Florida. We are now at that national average of living costs. So you're going to have to do your due diligence. Don't just willy-nilly move here. That's always my suggestion. If you can move because your job is remote, great. That's ideal. But if you need a job in town, you better find that job first. That's just a little tip. But again, our wages are slowly creeping up. The more big companies come here, and we have several big companies starting to get to really make this their home base. A lot of healthcare, a lot of finance, and especially supply chain and tourism, that sort of thing. So if that is your arena, check out Florida, but check out Tampa and come visit me. Well, and it's only fair that I talk about outdoor life because I'm out here at Philippi Park and you can see the bay right there. And of course, all this beautiful, green space that we have. Listen, we don't spend a lot of time indoors year round like everybody else in other parts of the country. So we are very spoiled with our weather. It is 98% of the time sunny and warm and humid. Now, right now in the fall, here we are in the fall time, it is not as humid, which is really great. My hair is still frizzing, but that's because it's about to rain. And we do have a lot more rain, this time of year than normal. But for the most part, you're going to be spending a lot of time outside. If you're a boater and you love to fish, or you like to kayak, stand up paddleboard, or you like to just be outside with your kids aren't going to be stuck inside, you know, during snowstorms or anything like that. The only time they're probably gonna have to come inside is if it rains and it's lightning. You got to stay away from the lightning. But we go to the beach. Sometimes we play hooky and go to the beach in the middle of the week, and it's fabulous. You can go to our beaches year round. The water might be cold, but you can still enjoy the water. As well as some of my favorite things to do are outdoor festivals and concerts and sporting events, so we don't have to do a lot of things indoors, which again, that vitamin D really helps us to feel happier here, I'm not gonna lie. On the downside, you've got the hottest summers on record. You've got some enormous amounts of humidity and the bugs. It doesn't matter where you are, a bug will find you. Roaches, spiders, and of course the little geckos. The geckos are everywhere. And you know, I won't get into alligators and snakes and all that stuff people want to talk about or ask me about. I think it's hilarious, but bugs are my biggest problem here. One of the cool things about Florida too is it's a melting pot. So many people from all over the country and the world are moving here. And so you have so much culture and diversity, and that is really prevalent in our restaurants and our entertainment. We have all these cultural festivals, you know, sometimes they have food festivals even. We have the Greek festival, and then we'll have the barbecue festivals. Like Texans are bringing their barbecue our way. If you name it, especially in the Latin cuisine, in Tampa in particular, we have a ton of Latin restaurants, Latin festivals. It really is a mixed bag here. It's a melting pot. So you're not gonna feel like you're alone. You're gonna find your tribe, right, when you're coming to the state of Florida. And obviously different parts of Florida are gonna have different kinds of culture, right? So Florida, let's just talk about this for a second. So the state of Florida, you know, is little as it may look on a map, it's actually quite large, and it takes a long time to get from, let's say, Miami to Tallahassee. It takes forever just to get out of the state. Tallahassee has a very different vibe than Miami. Jacksonville has a different vibe. Orlando has a different vibe. Tampa has a different vibe. Melbourne has a different vibe. Miami, Palm Beach, they all have a different vibe. So if you haven't really decided which city you want to move to in Florida, you really need to come visit all the cities. Some people think Jacksonville's all that, but to me, Jacksonville is not all that. Tallahassee feels a little bit more like Southern Georgia. We call that really the Southern Georgia area. It just has that country feel to it, right? The climate is different. The climate is different, I would say, from Tampa north, right? It's going to be a little bit cooler, a little bit more indicative of what's going on in the Georgia and Alabama area. But then if you go south of Tampa, down to Miami and Fort Lauderdale and those places, it's going to be a little bit warmer, right? Not to mention the west coast of Florida and the east coast, worlds different. Two different water sources, right? We have the Gulf of Mexico on the west coast, and then we've got the Atlantic on the east coast. So everybody's got their preference. I'm a west coast girl. I love my west coast beach. I like the calm white sands and the crystal blue water. And yes, every now and then we're going to get some red tide. It doesn't kill us. You just have to ignore it for a couple weeks and then it goes away. On the East Coast, you're going to have a little bit more of that rip curl. You're going to have a little bit more of the seaweed on the sand, and the sand is not as white. But some people absolutely love it. Tell me what you think. East Coast or West Coast beaches are your thing. I'd really love to know. I'm going to give you a little insight into one thing I've noticed lately. And if you are a Floridian, comment below and let us all know your thoughts on this. I feel like so many Floridians are so mad that everybody is moving here. I get a lot of comments of people saying, stop doing these videos, stop telling people to move to Florida. Can't do that, sorry, it's my job. And it's my job to educate. So I'm really curious as to why you don't want people to move here. If that's you, comment below. But of course, here's the downside. Traffic. Traffic becomes atrocious. Obviously, our cost of living has risen because of so many people coming here and having to hire more work. And it's a trickle-down effect, right? You know, housing prices are at the highest they've ever been. Property insurance is the highest it's ever been. State income tax highest it's ever been. Flood insurance is the highest it's ever been. TICO has raised their rates. So now, you know, people have to make a little bit more, and we were already below that average. So it is really kind of messing up our economy. Hopefully it'll balance out, but I'm sad to say I think we're going to lose a lot of original Floridians because of it. Just my 2 cents on that. Let's talk more about traffic. And it's not so much traffic, it's about the drivers. We have a problem with the drivers here. Those of us that remember driving here when there was less people are the ones that are the most upset. Rightfully so. We didn't have as much traffic on 275 and I-4, and we didn't have such high car insurance. And now there are more motorists uninsured and more accidents. Hence the rise in car insurance. So it can be shocking when you come here and you get an auto insurance quote, and you go, what? You know, I've lived in California, I've lived in Atlanta, 2 big, high trafficy areas, and I've never paid as much for my car insurance as I do here in Florida. It is wild. Also with traffic, don't forget, we are a tourist destination. And now we become a tourist destination year round. People aren't just coming here for spring break and summer break. They're now coming here for fall break. And we have snowbirds. We've always had the snowbirds that come down here between November and April, and they usually have their second homes here, and they're waiting out the snow, right? So those people that are maybe East Coasters, I don't want to offend anybody, but tend to not be in a car as much as we are. So, if you don't practice, you don't remember how to do it, right? It is just really frustrating. I spend a lot of my time on the road, obviously, driving clients around and seeing properties. And I have witnessed so many near miss accidents. And I have also, in one day, almost been hit twice. And that is from people trying to get from one lane to cross 4 lanes without looking, or trying to exit very quickly. There's just a lot of erratic driving here. I'm not quite sure what that's about, but you got to keep that in mind. So your car insurance is going to be high. Prepare for that. All in all, of course, I'm polypositive, so I really think there's a lot of positive reasons for moving to Florida. Whether you decide it's Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, Miami, or Fort Lauderdale, you're going to find a lot of wonderful cities to choose from when you're looking to relocate to Florida. But don't mislead yourself. There are some real problems with moving to Florida, and it's going to affect your bottom line. So if you have any questions about that, I'm here to help. All my links are below. I'm a licensed real estate agent in the state of Florida, and I can help you out. Most importantly, though, I service the central west coast of Florida. And again, I'd love it if we could get a conversation going and I can help you out. And don't forget, I love those comments below. Let me know what you think. Give me some topic ideas and I will shoot them for you guys. And as always, you know the drill. Hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It definitely helps the algorithm to put my content and other people's content like this out there to you. I spend a lot of time on these videos, my blood, sweat, and tears to bring you, as much information as I possibly can. And I really, really appreciate you coming and checking out my channel today and this content. And I hope it was helpful. So let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.